we're about to go to Bones Island. Bones Island, in our opinion, based on the evidence we have, is the single most important place for African Americans outside of America. Why? Because from this small place in Africa, tens of thousands of people were taken to a small part of America. Over a long period of time, enough for people from my country, Sierra Leone, to be able to influence Gola culture in names, language, loanwords, diets, even dancing. Many of Sierra Leonean culture and heritage was transferred to the Americas. And that's what we're doing when we go to Bones Island. We want to show the world that this place where history sleeps, like I said earlier, is the single most important place for African Americans outside of America. And if you doubt me, rebut me with evidence. This was called Gates Tower. So at this gate, this is how you would enter Bones Island and exit. But what I want to point out is that at this gate, it was manned by 2 armed guards at all times, 24/7. They were up here and they would let people in by opening the gates. But also these 2 guards would have their eyes downriver at all times, looking for movements, ships. They have a fireplace in there. Can you imagine? A fireplace in Africa. But they didn't use it, it was just to beautify the house. So fireplace, fake fireplace, just to show some opulence. Over here, this is where you see into the men's slave yard, which we're going to next, or we're going to go around there next, but you can see slaves in here, and you can just pick who you like. Now, there's a lady that came here in the 1790s. Her name was Anna Maria Falconbridge. Anna Maria Falconbridge was here for dinner once from upstairs, right? She said that in her notes, there was all kinds of wine and food, you know, living the bourgeoisie style. But she happened to walk by one of the windows upstairs. And when she looked outside, this is how she described what she saw. She said she saw naked black men chained together in groups of 10 and the trough of rice they were using to satisfy their craving for food. So there probably 200, 300 men in groups of 10, naked, chained together, and just one trough of rice in the middle of them where they would eat like animals. Imagine when it rained, what happened to those guys? Because it wasn't covered. So it would rain on them. And in Sierra Leone, when it rains, it pours. But we're not here to talk about the rain. It's about the guys that were in here, they were chained together and eating off a trough of rice. That's what she saw while she was basking in opulence. See the contrast? But you remember I said that we had castle slave trade? Yeah. Right here where we're standing, around this area, is where they would come and sell the Africans. And the chief agent would come. I mean, they had a particular way to do things here, right? They would test them if they are, if they have their senses together, so they'll do something to make them jolt or whatever. There was one time that they used to brand them. Brand with an iron. Yeah? And it was, we found a branding tool here on this island when the archaeologists were doing some stuff. An S. So if you had an S in you, it was for Sierra Leone. It wasn't just, and they didn't just brand Sierra Leone. I mean, I guess they branded everywhere.
Superman.
Oh, Superman, yeah. But S, and also at some point they had one that said RACE, the acronym RACE, race, which stands for the Royal African Company of England. You know, the slave trade in those days was backed by the monarchy. The British monarchy supported and promoted the slave trade. This arguably was the single most important thing operation here on Bones Island. Why? Because they had a dead man lock system. Are you familiar with that? This is IT. I mean, if you want to go to some data centers, for example, they have doors where you step into one side and they lock it behind you before they open up the others. So who had asked a question about the riots? Someone had asked a question about, was it you that asked a question about the riot?
Uprising.
So again, 2 officers with guns. There was a ledge here, and they will, open up the gates when it was time to feed. So say for example, I'm bringing in food now. I will talk to these guys. They will ask, who goes there? You tell them who you are and what you're doing. And if they know your voice, I guess, they will let you in here. Over here is the women's slave yard to my left, and to my right is the men's slave yard. So once I enter in here, those guys above me will lock this door before they open any of these.
Like at jail.
Because if they open this and you want to run out, this door is locked, right? You can't get anywhere. But if these 2 doors are open at the same time, I mean, yeah, those guys can do some stuff. And the reason why they did this was because there were riots, even if not here, in other parts where they were doing business. So they learned from that. All right? All day long, what they said you used to hear was all kinds of sounds, people crying, because, yeah, they know their lives have changed forever. Kids with mom, parents, yeah.
And what was the ages of the children?
They would differ. I mean, Priscilla, for example, was 10 years old in 1757 when they took her from here. So women slave here, and guess what? Don't quote me on this because I don't know for sure, but they had a hut in here.
A what?
A hut. This 2 rooms. And they didn't have one in the men's slave yard. And they had a route to walk from Bones Island House through the garden. They have a formal garden back there. This was where you will find the first golf course in Africa. 2 2-hole golf course was back there somewhere. I'll point you out when we go around there. But if they had a hut in the women's and children's slave yard, and they didn't have one in the men's slave yard, I want to let your imagination flow. Sergeant and Oswald, the company that ran Bones Island at the most profitable time, I mean, these guys were masters of the business. And they didn't only work with Bones Island and Africans. They brought things from India. They were engaged in Asia and other parts of the world, the Caribbean. So, for example, the African leaders, you know what was the most important? Because they didn't have cash then. They weren't buying slaves with money. It was a barter system. Who could guess what the Africans wanted more than anything else? No? We're taking rice away. What did they want here?
Guns.
Cloth. Who said cloth? Oh, cloth. That's it. Cloth, especially from India and Turkey. The African chief want clothing. And that's how they would trade their people. In my heart, I believe the America itself was built by us. Because we set the stage to put it on that catapult that it enjoys today. Because rice was the first successful industry in America. South Carolina was the richest of the colonies. Yes. So we built that city. Yeah, America. So cannons, 7 shots. Wartime. Let me tell you how they would do, how they operate if they've been attacked. They will fire their cannons back. If the French were attacking them, because the French are going to come ashore, right? So they would stall them. The Bones Island chief agent and his workers would stall these guys, thinking that they are going to put up a fight, whilst in the meantime, they are packing up all their wares to make us an escape. I'll show you back there, where they will go to a friendly river, and by the time the French will get here, they won't be here. Yeah. There was one guy called Old Plunkett. He was a chief agent here, but he was a drunk. So he got wasted every day. But I mean, Bones Island, he had to drink living on Bones Island. He had to, right? So
Yeah, I need one right now.
you need one right now? Yes. So Old Plunkett attacked Bones Island once. Black Bart, the most feared pirate of his time, attacked Bones Island once when Old Plunkett was here. Old Plunkett, he was drunk, so he didn't give a hoot about that guy. He fired his cannons. He ran out of cannonballs. He started putting all kinds of metal in there, just firing at the pirates. Guess what? By the time it was done firing, he didn't have enough time to escape, and the pirates caught him right here on the island. And Black Bart behead, well, he was going to cut his head off. He was already in position. But the guy, he cursed at Black Bart so much that even Black Bart's followers. So wait a minute here. Anyone who is bold enough to curse at Black Bart, as this guy has, deserves to live. That is recorded in the British archives. When we talk about an agent who saved his life through the dint of swearing. Island, Africans were brought from far and near to the slave trade prison. They all feared Africans on slave ships last saw their homeland when they left from bones. Island, the British built this castle. It once was grand, but now the ruins are all that stand. Africans on slave ships last saw their homeland when they left from bones. We have an organization called Fambul Tik, which means family tree in English. And what we do as an organization is reach out to descendants of Sierra Leone and try to reconnect with them and hopefully bring them back, not just to do tours, but to try to do something around economic empowerment activities. So that's our overall goal or vision. On this particular trip that we're doing now, we refer to it as the Sierra Leone-Gola connection, the next step. So we've had about 4 interventions between Sierra Leoneans and Gola Geechee people, but this is the 5th one, and we're going a little deeper, so we refer to it as the next step. Now, on our trip are Gola leaders, cultural activists, preservationists, academia, and everyday people. So we are here to teach Golas about their origins and where their Gola culture originated from. Now, also and importantly, is that Gola Geechee people will be teaching Sierra Leoneans about their own culture. So I sit here on Bones Island, where we have a slave fortress that sent tens of thousands of Africans, enslaved Africans, to the colonies, South Carolina, and 60 years later, Georgia. So what we want these group of people to do is what they normally do when they do their work, right? Because like I said, some of them are performers, cultural activists. They will learn some of our culture, and they will tell that story when they go back to America. So it's a two-way thing, just like we have a two-way connection between Golas and Sierra Leoneans. This particular tour has a two-way kind of approach.